Hello, welcome. This video is about the letters I received from Sega of America between 1988 and 1996. 5 of them were in response to letters I wrote, plus Sega would also send various hints and newsletters and things along those lines. So I'm going to show a variety of paperwork. I am going to start with the best item. If you just want to see that and tune out, I wouldn't blame you. But if you're a big Sega fan, you might find these things interesting. So what I have on the table now are just the envelopes. Yeah, just envelopes. I don't even think I have the original envelope from the first letter I got back, which was in 1988. This first one's from 1989. But just a really quick look at them, just because you can see kind of how the company grew, in that this would have been before the launch of the Genesis. So the first envelope is just a Sega stamp with the address, and then they handwrite my name and address, and then they upgrade in 1989, right before the Genesis launch, with an envelope all pre-printed with their logo, but still writing the name. And again, similar thing in 1990, and then we're into still 1990, larger version. And now they're starting to type my name and address on the envelope. Slightly different setup here too. It says Consumer Products Division, which the other ones don't. This one also 1990. I wrote a lot, I guess, in the early Genesis days. And then you get in the envelopes with the window where the address is printed on the letter. That's 1991. And then Sonic the Hedgehog gets added to the envelopes because he is a big deal. Alright, first letter, which I think is the best item I'm going to show you, and perhaps one of the best items in my collection, just because it's unique. Because any Sega fan could have a lot of Sega stuff like I do, but it's just stuff that you buy at the store that anyone could buy. This, however, a lot of people I'm sure wrote to Sega and got letters, and in the early days maybe they also got handwritten letters, which is why I consider this unique and why I like it. It's because it's not something you'd get today. If you write to game companies, you're likely writing through the internet, email, social media, things along that nature, and you're just going to get probably an electronic response back, or a really basic response like that they've pre-written to send everybody. But back in the 80s, when games were still relatively small, or at least not embraced by everybody, it was still viewed as kind of, something along the lines of that geeks or nerds play. Well, they took more time to write to you, and of course Sega, at this time, this is 1988, the only product in North America at that time was the Master System, so Nintendo was dominating, and Sega, they had to build a great customer service, I'm sure, to keep the fans into the next generation. And they probably got a lot less correspondence than Nintendo, so they had more time perhaps to give such a personal response. So this first letter is the one I'm going to read completely. The other ones I'll just go over because they're not as interesting as this one. You do get the corporate response at the top typed out, just saying that they read all the letters, they appreciate the comments and suggestions, and also mention this toll-free number you could call. I never called this number, but from what I read, this might have been much more popular than writing letters. I did find one old Sega newsletter I don't have, but the scan of it online, that interviewed some of the people in the department and explained basically how big the department was and the number of phone calls they get and things like that. So there were 8 people in the department, all women, all played the game. Well, the ones that responded played the games. I think at least 6 of the people were responsible for replying, 2 for letters, 4 for the phone lines, and then the other 2, I guess, were probably management type roles. So the 4 people that answered the phone lines, it said they got approximately 1,000 phone calls per person per week. So about 4,000 phone calls a week. That's quite a bit. I'm surprised, mostly because the Master System wasn't a huge system. Like I said, Nintendo was dominating. So I don't know how many they sold or how many fans were out there, but and I wrote a lot, so maybe other people did too, or maybe they called a lot. It was mostly to get hints, I guess. I wrote about other things as well, but if you're stuck on a game in 1988, there's some video game magazines, but they're only small portions of each magazine dedicated to hints or tips, and even then, they're going to mostly be focused on Nintendo games in 1988 and only the most popular titles. So if you needed help, there weren't many places to turn to except the companies that made the games, or perhaps people you know, but there was no real internet to look things up. Maybe some forum boards, like I showed in another video. I had a commoner modem, but even that, you really either had to call a number or write somebody like I did. So let me just read the letter here. This is from Sandy Rao. Her twin sister worked in the department as well as one of the people that answered the phones. That newsletter had a very brief interview with them, or like quote one line, but alright, so let me read this. Thank you so much for taking the time to write us, John. You are really good at the games. You've gotten further on most of them than I have. And in parentheses, I have enclosed some helpful hints to some of the games you mentioned that may help you defeat the games. Now the next line might be taking a shot at Nintendo. I'm not sure what I said in my letter. It may just be other companies, but she then goes on to say, true, we don't have a $15 player's guide, but we do send out free helpful hints if we have them. And then, you will be very happy with Shinobi, John. It's one of the few games that I did defeat. Phantasy Star and Double Dragon are both excellent as well. Look for Phantasy Star to be released any day and Double Dragon to be on the shelves in time for Christmas. Thank you again for writing, John, and thank you for choosing Sega. So, I must have brought up these games or mentioned games I wanted to get. And I did get Shinobi and Double Dragon eventually. I never did get Phantasy Star though. That game, I don't know. This is late 1988, and then I got the Genesis in a year. I played a lot of Phantasy Star 2, but unfortunately I never did get Phantasy Star. I'm going to mention something about release dates in a bit when I get through more of the paperwork. Because like she's not giving specific dates because back then they didn't, and I mean today fans, man, they want the release date. They get mad when things get delayed, but they want that specific day. They want a pre-order. Back then you didn't have that date. It was more a time span. This game will be out around this time in a week than a month. So I'll get to a little more details. I have something in some of the paperwork. So that was my first letter. That was from Sandy. She also responded in my second letter. But this is just a brief typed response. Some fuzz and crap on here. Sorry. This one is from 1989, also before the Genesis released. So I think I sent game ideas. This is probably something a lot of kids do, and maybe still do. You have ideas. Everyone does that plays games. I still have an idea right now, a great one, if Sega's watching, but no one will ever hear that, I'm sure. But I actually do have some of these written down on paper still, ideas I had when I was younger. I don't know if those are the ones I sent, because it does say that they sent them back, but I don't know, the ones I have are so sloppy, I hope I didn't send them. But my handwriting has always been not very good. So it says, thank you for sending us your game idea. Although Research and Development appreciates all new idea contributions, they are currently working on several ideas of their own and are not accepting more at this time. So, not that they wouldn't, not accepting it this time, not accepting it any time. No, I don't think any company would have accepted ideas just to protect themselves, because if they have the same idea, or if they just happen to make something similar to your idea, they don't want to get sued. So, yeah, I used to send ideas not only to Sega. I've got letters also from Electronic Arts, Namco, SSI. So I wrote to a bunch of companies. This is probably the only video I'll make of the letters, but who knows. At the very least, I will put other letters in the future on the blog. And all the letters are scanned if you want to get a closer look and read them on your own time. They're all scanned and on the blog. I'll leave a link in the video description to that. I did scan some of the other stuff you'll see, but not too much of it. There's just way too much paperwork here. So, third letter. and different letterhead here. This is after the Genesis released, well after it really. This is 2 years after, 1991. And this is from Sue-Ann M. Brady. Alright, I'm not going to read this whole thing. This is just, you can tell they're getting a lot more correspondence now, a lot more letters, because the Genesis is popular, and the department is probably much bigger, but they're apologizing here for taking so long to respond. It says it may take 3 to 4 weeks during peak periods to get a response, although they anticipate returning to a 10-day response time now that school is back in session. So I guess the kids must write a lot over the summer. And I think I was asking about the Sega CD, because it goes on to talk a lot about the Mega CD. It says that Sega of Japan introduced the world to the Mega CD on June 6th at the International Toy Fair. Sega of America has scheduled the US release of the unit for spring of '92, but that didn't happen. It came out later in the year, I believe. I got my first job to buy the Sega CD, and I'm pretty sure I got it around launch, which was late in the year. So before Sega can release the CD-ROM here, they want to get a bunch of games ready to release with it. I should have double checked all this. I don't think very many games released with it, but every system, it's the way that goes. Most companies don't want to release a platform without a whole lot of games ready to go. So it says that they don't have any tech specs available at this time, and they'll show more at the January '92 CES. So that's the Consumer Electronics Show. That's before E3 existed. And they've enclosed a new release list. And then I must have also asked about making games, because here it says, I've spoken with some of our program developers, and they suggest a very strong background in computers. I would suggest that you contact your counselor at school for guidance. Yeah, I never got into making games, obviously, but I don't know if a game or a school counselor would have known much about games or even computers in 1991. It's still a growing field, and certainly games, I don't think anyone took it seriously as a job, so I don't know, I would have guessed my counselor probably would have pushed me away from that if I brought it up. And they just thanked me for supporting Genesis products. Good luck and good gaming. Next letter, 1993. And this one is responded by Homer Munoz. And he says he included a soft news newsletter, news spelled with a Z, where you can contact the game counselors on the number listed below. It says, well, actually, it was started as saying thanks for bringing your concerns to our attention, but I don't know what my concerns were, to be honest. 1993, I would have had the Sega CD by then, so maybe I mentioned something about that. In any case, it says even closed in-depth strategies and hints for DD Warriors of the Eternal Sun. That was Dungeons and Dragons. It's a Genesis game I have. And it says something to call the toll-free line about my lifesavers question. I think it would have been in regards to this. I don't know what I was asking, but there was a lifesavers promotion with Sonic the Hedgehog, a rebate offer. I still have the offer and a pile of these, so I don't think I sent them in. There's also a sorry, I guess there's an instant win thing here. But I guess I asked about that. And again, it's just saying, call their phone number if I have questions. Last letter, I cannot read the person that responded. They didn't print out their name, and it's just a really quick signature. So who knows who responded. Dear Sega Gamer, thank you for the correspondence. They welcome comments. They're thrilled to hear about my interest in video games. They have no official word about the game I asked about, but I don't know what game I asked about. This is 1996. I bought my Saturn later than this, though, so I would have probably just been asking about Genesis games, maybe CD or 32X, but probably another Genesis game. Once again, they're enclosing some soft news newsletter. And here we go. Here's some soft news. I don't know why they stopped spelling it with a Z though in the next one. So it's just a newsletter talking about the games and things. Just kind of the games currently in the marketplace. Shinobi 3, Sonic 2, and welcome to the next level here is like the motto for the CD. So this is obviously, this is 1993, the CD's already out. And here I say, yo gamers, with an apostrophe for some reason. Yeah, that's not needed at all. There's a lot of bad grammar in these things. But this is where they talk about retail release dates. So as I was saying, there wasn't really exact dates for a lot of games. Sega says here they didn't even want to give dates. It says our games are announced by months only. And this is because they ship their products to the retailer's warehouses or distributor, that you're not going to see the most recently shipped times in your local stores. It says our release date information should be viewed as shipping times from the warehouse. It's not a promise of when games will arrive at your local retail stores. So yeah, today, I mean, games release on specific days. Almost everything releases on a Tuesday or Friday. Today, I mean, sometimes you get other days. Like Nintendo likes to do Sundays occasionally, but for the most part, I mean, we have these definitive release dates today. But back then, you really didn't get that. Like I said, you got to go to the store, ask. If you don't have it, maybe check back. Sometimes there's even a game you keep seeing advertised in a magazine like I did, and then the game just never comes out. Sometimes the ads were just printed so far in advance, games just ultimately got canceled. Happened at least with one Sega CD game. Kept checking for that Revell European Racing Modelers game. It was like came with a a model you could actually build, but never released for Sega CD despite the magazine ad. So anyway, I should point out before I show the list, there's this little code guide here. So this is a list of all the games. Like it says, now available. There's a lot of games. It's third-party games as well as first-party. With the publisher and then number of players, type, and difficulty. So the type is the genre, and this is the code box over here. So A equals action, G equals simulator, and then the difficulty. So Sega gave a 5-point difficulty scale, 1 being the easiest, 5 expert. You may be calling for our help. And there is release date information, I guess. This box here just says a couple months. Like it doesn't even give us 1 month. I don't know if that's in here for the ones that aren't out yet, but I don't know. There's a lot of games in here. These would have been the games, I guess, that all released. And they also denote which games can use a gear-to-gear cable for the Game Gear games. That'd be the 2-player games. So here's more Sega Soft news. Like I said, they dropped the Z. Here's an S. And just talking more about other Sega stuff too, like the Pico. I think that's how it's pronounced. That actually wasn't published by Sega America. That was another Sega division, just like PC Software. Sega also had Sega Soft, and other companies distributed some of their PC software like Mindscape. And Sega Nomad is here. That's the portable Genesis. And just some more games. We're into the Saturn stuff here. Virtua Fighter 2, Virtua Cop, Saturn Peripherals. That was Winter 96. That one's set on the front of it. Not sure if this one does. But, just, it's kind of like ads essentially. I mean, they're promoting their own games, of course, and then just more release lists. Lots of games. These pages are more about ordering direct from Sega or getting repairs. And there's a whole price list here on hardware repairs, and you can order games direct from Sega as well. Prices varied quite a bit. Some of these prices look ridiculous. $76.50 for Strider, or $6.88 attack sub. Oh, here's some $81.50 for Phantasy Star games. And these seem overpriced though. I mean, today, as I film this, the games are generally $59.99. But there were cartridges much higher than that back here. Usually role-playing games. But some of these I think are just priced ridiculously high, but maybe they were out of print at this time, so there weren't many left. And I don't know if these prices would be of any one's interest or curiosity. But these are also peripherals you can buy. Various adapters, AC adapters, and controllers, gamepads. I guess if you lose your part or they break, you can get replacements. So these are more release lists. This one for the Sega Master System is more detailed than the other ones. You could see quite a bit here. Number of players, number of rounds, which I guess would be levels. If there's a game ending, not every game has an end to it. They just repeat until you die. Like Choplifter will just repeat the levels over and over. If Sega has helpful hints available, a choose level mode, so you don't have to start at the first level. A continue mode, there's a few marked. Number of megs, or megas, as each cartridge, they make a big deal if it's something big. Most of these are 1 or 2 megs, or megas. I always consider megs, but Afterburner's 4, so I guess you're supposed to expect better graphics, maybe? I don't know, just a bigger game, although Afterburner's not a very big game. And special comments will just mark if you need an accessory like the 3D glasses or the light phaser, or 2 people can play at the same time. And just more games, and then they stuck even a picture here, let the games begin. Some kids with light phasers and a Master System arcade stick. Alright, let me speed up some of this. There's just another pile of release dates or games that are released. This one is from 1990. It's all Genesis games with a few Master System. Master System wasn't quite dead yet. Sega let it go on for a little while the Genesis was out. And this one has a lot that I marked up even. So you can see my little code here. I would write R if I want to rent the game, B if I want to buy, and M meaning maybe buy, I think is what it means. I marked up this. I mean, there's so many games. There's a lot of games today too. But back then I'd rent a lot of games. I don't do that anymore, but it was really the only way to play a wide variety of games. There's just way too many. You could never play them all. I don't think people bought nearly as many games as they do today. But like I did rent Spider-Man. I did buy Streets of Rage. So some of these I did. Some I put buy just on an Untitled baseball game from Sega. I don't know if I ever got that though. Didn't even know what it was, but it was baseball, so I wanted it. Okay, helpful hints. Breeze over these really quick. There's a big stack. This is the first group I received. Sandy wrote her name on here. So this would have been with the first letter I got back. Sega helpful hints, let the games begin. And it's just hints for lots of games, not just games I own. I think she just sent whatever they had to like Action Fighter, My Hero. I never played those. And then Wonder Boy, I didn't play the first one. Maze Hunter 3D, Afterburner, Teddy Boy, Choplifter. There are some screenshots, Choplifter screen and Teddy Boy screen, but it doesn't really tell you anything as far as the hints. I've seen other videos and scans online of the hints that Sega would send. Some people did get maps. I guess a lot of these games just didn't require maps. This here is probably how I learned about the Snail Maze. So she also added this page that tells you about the Snail Maze game that's built into the Master System. So again, without the internet, video games weren't talked about on television either. You either had to find a magazine with this information or get it straight from the source. I wouldn't have known the Snail Maze game existed because they don't tell you in the Master System manual or anything. It's just a hidden game in the system. I don't know what the objective was, like why they put it there, but the way they wrote this letter, it sounds like they're giving you a free game, except you already have owned it since you own the system. It says, in appreciation for your patronage, Sega America would like to thank you with an additional game for your Sega system. This game does not require a game cartridge or card. But they're not giving it to me. I already bought it because I bought the system well before I got this. And it's not like you could plug in online and download an update to give you this game. It was there. It was always there. And I'm sure most of you, if you have a Master System or played, would know this game exists. It just tells you, don't put a cartridge or a game card in. Insert the controller into number 1, the port number 1. turn on the system, hold down the control pad in the up direction and buttons 1 and 2, and then it'll load you up the Sega Snail Maze game, and it says here there's 12 mazes to master. So then just more hints, I won't go through them, just pages and pages. I didn't scan everything, I only scanned like 1 or 2 of these just to give you an idea of what Sega sent. And there's Genesis ones too. Most of these are Master System. I think in the Genesis days I didn't really write as much, at least for hints. I think I could figure games out better when I was older, and I just rented so many I didn't really have time to learn them or finish them. Last couple things. I'm trying to keep things out of frame. Alright. Book 1 and 2 of the Team Sega Game of the Month. These little booklets, I don't know how many they made. Probably not very many. This is 1989. Both of them February and March. So before the Sega Genesis released. And what they are, again, I mean, of course they're advertising their games and offering free games. If you buy 3 get 1 free. There's a game each month. This one had Rambo 3, and it is cut out. I may have gotten this game. I do own it, so I either bought it or got it for free by sending in whatever was required. Next game of the month, Reggie Jackson Baseball. Then you get a couple items you can purchase or get free, I guess, if you send in, I guess, probably proof of purchase of these specific games. This page is torn. I ripped it. I may have gotten this. I can't find it, but I'll add it to the blog if I ever do find it. I'll add a photo of it. It's a Sega Watch, but really all these things are pretty much cheap generic items that the Sega logo is just printed on. So it was a digital watch with the Sega logo on it. And then they have a page which is torn, of course. Coming soon games. And here's the Sega Spinner, which is a yo-yo with Sega printed on it. They also mentioned the Sega Newsletter, which I'm going to show you one of, but I only have one. I guess I either got it or got signed up really late, or I don't know. There were only 7 of them, so I think maybe I did just not write until they were nearing the end. So here's another one. Of course, this last one said Reggie Jackson Baseball was the upcoming free game. This one I didn't rip anything out of. And here is the Sega camera. It says the Sega 110 camera. Use it to record your high scores from the TV screen. So, you take a photo of the TV to get your high score recorded. It's pretty much all you can do, or use a VCR to record your games like I did. But it's just a cheap camera. I don't know if it's a throwaway camera. It's not the greatest picture, but I'm sure it's quite small. It has like a keyring there on the edge of it. And here's the Sega Squeezer, which probably is the plastic water bottle. Yeah, the newsletter, here's the only one I have. Again, it's just promoting Sega games, of course. There's not a lot else in here. It does say $3.50, but it was free. And this is the last one, the only one I have. So this is December 1989, and in 1990, Sega Visions premiered, just Sega's free magazine. I'm not going to show that here, but that was a free magazine that Sega sent to people starting in 1990, so I think that was their replacement for this. So it's just an overview from Sega here about games that are here, upcoming, and then you could write in. Apparently this would have been the last issue, so the last answer is given out, and people just asked again for tips and tricks. Is just what people always want. They're not all that helpful. Someone's asking for help in Alien Syndrome, but all the response tells you is that you get like an extra life at 50,000 points, and another 150,000. And someone's asking how to beat Jenkin the Great in the Brown Castle in Alex Kidd in Miracle World. This one was probably helpful. I never played this game myself. It says choose paper, then paper, jump over the balls he throws, and punch him in the forehead twice. Don't ever hit him from behind. So then there's just usually a game and then tips. It's pretty much what it is. This is all Sega Master System, I believe. Oh wait, well, yeah, I think it is, but then there's a Genesis poster, because it was previewing, well, the Genesis would have just come out around the same time I probably got this, so it included a poster of the Genesis, But yeah, this whole newsletter is Master System. And they're saying here to sign up a friend, but being the last issue, even if you sign this up, I mean, maybe they would have sent them Sega Visions eventually. And just 3 hot new titles for the Sega Master System. The poster, all this is the same thing you'd get with the Genesis games you bought probably in the first year the Genesis was out. You know, it's not all going to fit in frame, but if you ever bought Genesis games, I'm sure you have this Altered Beast poster. It just would have been folded up much more to fit in a game box than it is here. Just to, you know, it just has 4 folds. It's just saying, you know, it's just Genesis is new, so it's saying your world will never be the same. And with the various titles out the first few months probably, unless they were all launch titles, I can't remember, but that's that. So like I said, if you want to read the letters yourself, they're on the blog. And thanks for watching.